Peter, can we talk first of all about where did the idea sort of first emerge of casting these two icons of boxing cinema opposite one another?
Well, originally the script was just written in sort of a generic fashion, not with those guys in mind. But as I started working on the screenplay, for about a year or so, I realized more and more that the only guys I could think of to play these characters were De Niro and Stallone, which was great that we identified the cast, but horrifying because if we didn't get them, it would have been a complete waste of a year. So we spent the next couple of months courting them.
And Sylvester Stallone's talked a little bit about his initial reservations of kind of winking maybe at the past with Rocky and Raging Bull. Did you have any similar sort of reservations yourself?
Yes, I mean, we did not set out to do a parody at all. And because these roles weren't originally written for Stallone and De Niro, we had no intention. But once we got them, we realized, maybe we can just nod to those roles once or twice. And that's what we did. But I was nervous presenting, those two scenes, to Sly because I had convinced him to do the movie without parody, and here were a couple of nods. But he laughed so much at the first one, he said we should do one more, and so we came up with a second.
Like any compelling sports movie, we have to care a lot about the characters to when we actually see them. In this case, in the boxing ring, we really care about what's going to happen. So what is happening with these guys as Grudgement Day sort of approaches and the idea of that comes into their lives?
Well, the movie is really not about boxing. It's about the events that lead up to this match. And so, sports stories are chick flicks for guys. There's a romance to them, there's a rhythm to them, and you have to care. And what was challenging about this story too is there's no villain. You were rooting for both of these guys, so I thought it was very interesting. I love sports movies, and I've been a fan of them my whole life. But there's always a protagonist and an antagonist. In this case, there were not. And so how would the audience respond to that? And how do you keep it competitive? Who are you rooting for? And so that was really the challenge.
Yeah, that worked very effectively for me. And I didn't realize actually until they got in the ring, like, oh, I'm not quite sure who I want to win actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
And a brilliant supporting cast too, of course. Alan Arkin and Sylvester Stallone work very well together. I love the training scene when he's running, trying to keep up with the motor scooter and not doing very well initially. Yeah. What did you enjoy about watching them sort of spark off one another?
Well, I thought those guys had completely different personalities, and I had no idea how they would get along on set. But they became good friends because Alan does not suffer fools, and so if Sly came in grumbling about something in the morning, he'd say, "What are you complaining about? You're always complaining. You've got nothing to complain about." And he'd get Sly to crack up, and they became good buddies.
Dean Semler's cinematography is very dynamic in the boxing sequence, particularly at the end. What were your sort of guiding principles for creating that? It looked very authentic.
Well, thanks. Dean and I have worked together. This is, I think, our 4th collaboration. And we went to Las Vegas to the Pacquiao-Marquez fight to study the HBO crew and their camera angles and lighting, because we wanted to give this as realistic, a look and feel as possible. And we looked at everything, from Chaplin to Keaton to, every other movie, since to look at styles. And we knew that we weren't going to be as heightened artistically as Raging Bull, nor did we want to, emulate that. So we created our own very kind of gritty style. We had 7 cameras, very little time to shoot. This was basically a 4-day, fight sequence. Rocky IV, for example, took 4 weeks to film their fight. But we had, I yelled action on Monday and cut on Thursday night, and we rolled on everything in between.
And no stuntmen?
No stuntmen, no, it was all them.
Peter Segal, thanks very much.
Thank you.